Good morning. Welcome back to my channel. This is Heidi from My Reading Life, and it's early in the morning on Friday, and I am filming a video, so I apologize for the lighting if it's not great. This is the only time that I have available to film this video, so I've got to do it before I go to work. So I am here to answer another round of questions from my 3,000 subscriber celebration Q&A. So this particular segment, we're going to talk about all things Maine and my Maine life. So let's just get into it. So Lady King asks, have I lived in Maine my whole life? Yes, I have. So I was born in Maine, in the easternmost part of the state, grew up, lived in the same town my whole childhood, went away to college for 4 years, and then got married and lived 1 year in Colorado, moved home, bought a house with my husband, and lived 2 towns over from the town I grew up in. So I have been here for the last 50 years minus 5. So 45 years of my life have been spent right here where I am today. So Book of Dust asks, does your love of nature and nature writing have roots in your childhood reading or experiences that have grown over time? And I would say yes. As I talked about in the previous Q&A video, my family is very outdoor oriented. My dad was a park ranger. I've lived in the rural part of Maine for my whole life. So have always been an outdoor kind of person, and loved outdoor activities. I was the kind of kid, I grew up in the 70s and 80s when childhoods were a lot different than they are today, but spent all of my time, outside building forts and ramming around in the woods and riding my bike all over the place and swimming in the river and swimming in the lakes. It was a lot of outdoor time. And plus that, my dad, as I said, was avid hunter and fisherman. So in the wintertime, we spent almost every Sunday ice fishing as a family. So we would all go to a lake on a snowmobile or walk or whatever, and we would fish all day long. And those are treasured memories. So I was always outdoor oriented, and I was always also a reader. And so I spent a lot of time as a kid reading sort of nature related books like, My Side of the Mountain, Hatchet, The Little House on the Prairie books, like all of the, typical kid outdoory kind of books. I loved them. And that has only grown over time as I have developed my own interests and, areas that I'm really interested in, like marine life. I've spent lots of time. I went through a huge local food phase where I read tons of books about the local food movement. I've gone through different phases in my life of reading about certain nature topics. And I love BookTube and being part of the Book Naturalist Book Club because it has just expanded my horizons when it comes to nature writing and what I read. So that has definitely developed over time, although it has always been an interest of mine since childhood. So Carla King asks, tell us a bit about your connection to your camp and your responsibilities. So, a lot of my vlog footage is of our camp, which is on a lake nearby. When Eddie and my husband, Eddie and I were first married, had just moved home. My parents bought a lot with a small camp on it at a local lake, about 20 minutes away from where we live, and had an old building on it. And over the last 25 years, that old camp has been torn down. We built a new camp, and now we own the camp in partnership or all together with my parents. So my parents and my husband and I own the camp all together. It is a deep water, cold lake. It's a salmon lake. So if in Maine, if you have a cold water lake, that's typically a salmon lake, and a warm water lake is typically more of a, like a sport fish, like trout, trout are cold water lake, bass, perch, that sort of stuff. So, our lake is a cold water lake, very deep and very large, one of the largest lakes in our county, if not the largest lake in our county. And yeah, it's a glorious, glorious spot, as you've seen from the vlog footage. Our responsibilities have increased over time because, of course, my parents have aged, as you do. So we have taken on more of the maintenance for the camp. Somebody asked me at one point if we had a company that did the maintenance. No, we do not have a company that does the maintenance. We do all the maintenance ourselves, from putting the dock out in the spring and taking the dock back in the fall, which is like one of the hardest parts of it. Mowing the lawn, keeping in the wintertime, keeping the property plowed out and sanded so that oil can be delivered. We keep the camp heated all year long because we like to go out there in the wintertime too and ice fish and snowmobile and ski and all that kind of stuff, snowshoe. And in the summertime, it's more typical summertime maintenance. But it also involves if the roof needs to be shingled, then we have to shingle the roof. If the camp needs to be painted, we have to paint the camp. My husband is very handy. He is very much able to do most of the work himself. He built me my screen house, which you have seen in my vlogs, which I love my screen house. It's my favorite place to read in the summertime. And he is really good at doing all that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's the story there with camp. We love camp so much. Reading in Spurts asks, what is your favorite part of living in Maine? I would have to say the ocean. Living so close to the ocean, I can see ocean. I have ocean views, not ocean frontage, and it's very much in. I live sort of up in a estuary, so it's not open ocean. But I love the ocean. I love that smell when you're on the shore and that salt water, mud. I love that smell. If you spend a lot of time on the shore, you will know exactly the smell I mean. And Maine is very, where I live in Maine, it's so undeveloped, and so the population is very low. So there's a lot of places that you can go and hang out and be by yourself and just be in nature and not be surrounded by people. We don't have, where I live, very, very few sandy beach areas, like no real large sandy beach areas at all, and very few even small sandy beach. We are rocky coast. We are, granite cliffs and rockweed covered rocky shore, and mudflat. And that's the kind of habitats that we generally have around here. And I just love all of them. They are my favorite place to spend time. But I also love fall in Maine. Fall in Maine is the best month in Maine. The temperature is the best. It's sort of, in that middle part of the temperature range. So it's not too hot, not too cold. The air smells really awesome. Wood smoke, usually, because people are starting fires. The leaves have changed. Yeah, fall is a really awesome time in Maine as well. So yeah, those are my two favorite things about living in Maine. I think I would say, probably in a different day, I would come up with some other ideas too. Road Reed asks, if someone were to visit Maine for just 24 hours, what is the one thing they have to do, and what is the one thing they have to eat in order to truly experience Maine? So the one thing that they have to do, I think, it's going to be really hard, because if you're only coming to Maine for 24 hours, it depends on where you land in Maine, what you're going to be able to do. But I would say it's essential to go to the coast. It's essential to see, it's iconic, right? It's iconic. The Maine coast is what you picture when you think Maine. So I would definitely say visit a small coastal village, check out the harbor, look at the fishing boats, just take in the scenery. That is definitely I don't think that you've really experienced Maine unless you've done that. And what is the one thing you have to eat? Well, lobster is the iconic Maine food, and the lobster roll is the iconic way to eat the Maine lobster. So I guess if you're a seafood eater, that would be my recommendation. But I am not a seafood eater, strangely enough. So I do not like lobster. I do not eat lobster. I do not eat any seafood other than haddock and halibut, which are not particularly Maine known, the seafood that Maine is known for. But I know everybody else that comes to Maine, that's what they come for, is our seafood. Our seafood is, world-class seafood. And I would say that, yeah, if you come to Maine, you got to eat seafood. Definitely eat seafood. Eat fried clams. Go to a little roadside takeout, eat some fried clams. That is like the quintessential Maine dish. Eat a lobster roll. You can either choose to have it with mayonnaise or with butter. It's up to you, however you like to do it. But in Maine, they come on a hot dog bun and Maine hot dog buns are not like hot dog buns in other parts of the country, I guess, which I didn't realize until I was an adult. But ours are split top and don't have crust on the outside, I guess I would say. It's more like a piece of bread that's joined together. And so the outside part of your bun is just the bread part without any crust, and is split top. And they fill it full of lobster meat, and everybody that likes lobster, they love that. So I don't eat that. I would say for my favorite food that you should eat in Maine is you need to go to an ice cream stand that sells Gifford ice cream. Gifford is a local company, and they sell a type of ice cream called Moose Tracks, and it's vanilla ice cream with chocolate fudge ripple and little tiny peanut butter cups in it. Yeah, try that. Also, whoopie pies. Whoopie pies are the Maine. It is our state dessert, our official state treat. I don't know what they designated, but there was a whole thing where the legislator fought over it for like months and months, which is ridiculous. But definitely try whoopie pie. They're awesome. Chocolate cake with filling, like a cream-based filling in the middle. But you should only eat my Aunt Linda's whoopie pies because they're the best. So you got to come visit me to try that. What was the other one? I just had another thought in my mind. Oh, Maine wild blueberries. Our blueberries are not like blueberries in other places. So in other places in the world, you get a high bush blueberry, which is like the big fat blueberries that you see in the store. And our blueberries they grow on the ground like a low bush, like a cranberry. It kind of just looks like a lawn, but with little scrubby bushes on top. And our blueberries are small, but the flavor of a Maine wild blueberry like beats a high bush blueberry. I mean, maybe I'm going to offend some of you, but our blueberries are way better than other blueberries. And in fact, most of the members of my family will not eat high bush blueberries because they say they don't taste like anything. So if you come to Maine, you got to have wild blueberries and, blueberry muffins, blueberry pancakes, blueberry pie, all of that. Definitely should try that. It's awesome. So I could go on probably a long time about food in Maine, but I will leave that topic for now. Julie in Quebec asks, where is the best place to go in Maine for a summer vacation? And don't tell her Old Orchard Beach, which I won't because I've only been to Old Orchard Beach like one time in my life, and it was definitely not for me. That's in southern Maine. That's not in the part of Maine where I live. And Bar Harbor, of course, is the iconic Maine destination. It's where Acadia National Park is. Our only national park in Maine is Acadia National Park, and it's one of the top 10 most visited national parks in the country. Definitely, if you have never been, highly recommend, although it's extremely crowded in the summertime, so just be prepared for that. I think the visitor count for Acadia leapt from 2 million people a year to 6 million people a year since COVID. So yeah, just be prepared for that. So I would say the best place to go to Maine for summer vacation is where I live. The most eastern part of the state, Washington County, is the best part of Maine, in my opinion. You would have a fabulous time on vacation if you came up here and rented a little cabin on the coast. It would probably be super cheap. You could hike, you could sightsee, you could eat awesome Maine food, you could go out on a boat and do a whale watch. There's tons of activities if you like outdoor type of activities. I would say that if you are a person who is not an outdoor person and you're an indoor person, Maine is going to be a real struggle for you because we do not have the cultural type of things. I mean, Portland, yes. Portland's the largest city in Maine. It's in southern Maine, and it has, shopping and museums and sports arenas and all that kind of stuff. So sports teams, you can go to Portland, Maine, and you can do your city stuff. But outside of that, you need to be a person that likes being outdoors. even if it's just, you know, sitting on the porch and reading a book, which is an absolute excellent activity to pursue while you're in Maine. So in my opinion, the best place to vacation in the summer is my county, because we're really off the beaten path. It's very rural. It won't be crowded. There'll be like all the quiet and peace that you can imagine. You can, you know, all the sightseeing that you want. If you come to the area where I live, you could visit West Quoddy Head Lighthouse, which is iconic candy cane striped lighthouse, beautiful hiking trails right on the ocean. Awesome, awesome place. You can visit the Roosevelt's Cottage, which is on the island of Campobello, which is actually a Canadian island, which is accessible by bridge from the Maine side, from our side. So bring your passport, drive over to Campobello, visit Roosevelt's Cottages, where FDR and his family summered, had summer vacations, very cute place. And then visit East Quoddy Head Lighthouse, which is the lighthouse on the eastern end of Campobello. And then you could see the twin lighthouses. And sometimes you can see whales when you're on land from both of those places. So that's really fun. You could take a whale watch out of Eastport and see minke whales and finback whales and perhaps even a humpback whale if you come at the right time of year. So definitely those are the best places to go for Maine for a summer vacation. I will say, don't come in June. It rains all the time and the black flies are here and it's miserable. And my sister-in-law, who is from California, they came in June once and she hated it so bad, I didn't think we would ever get her back to Maine. But she did come back in August and liked it a lot better because the black flies are atrocious. They're just atrocious and like nobody needs that in their life. So definitely come. If you want summer, come July, August, September. If you want fall, come in October. It's awesome in October. If you like hiking and are interested in climbing a mountain, go to Baxter State Park up in the county, up in Aroostook County, northern Maine, and hike Mount Katahdin, the tallest mountain in Maine, the northern end of the Appalachian Trail. I've hiked it myself twice. It can be done in a day. I did it when I was 13 and I did it again in my early 40s, and it is a really transformative experience. And so I would definitely recommend that as a vacation as well if you're into that kind of activity. Yeah, I could go on at length about vacations in Maine, but I will leave that there. And then Krista Alvarez asks, are you a native of Maine? Yes, I am. And then she asked, how did you and your husband meet and what does he do for a living? So my husband is not from Maine. His family, his dad and mom are from Maine, but his dad was career military. And so he grew up all over the place, was born down south in North Carolina and grew up on military bases all over the place. And when his dad retired, they moved home, and my husband was finishing up his senior year of high school. So he came the last 6 months of his senior year. He's a little bit older than me. So I didn't meet him then. I met him a little bit later, but I met him when I was 16 and we started dating when I was 16 and he was 19. He was, we had mutual friends in common, and we met at a dance when we were dating other people and hit it off. And after those other relationships ended quite quickly after that, we ended up going out on a date. And it was it. That was it for us. So I have been with my husband since I was 16 years old. We survived 4 years of a long distance relationship when I was in college and he was in the military. And then we got married right after I graduated from college. And then, so as I said in my last video, we spent 1 year, the last year of his military service, out in Colorado Springs, and then moved home and have been here ever since. And so, yeah, that's how we met. And it was so funny. He had such a southern accent when we first met, and I thought that was pretty cute, I have to tell you. But his mother did not care for me at all. She has sadly passed away since then, but she did not care for me at all until she found out that I was a reader, and she loved Stephen King and I love Stephen King, and we bonded over Stephen King and we were fast friends after that. But it was so funny that to bond with my mother-in-law over reading, and the fact that she didn't really think that Eddie and I were a good fit for each other. But once she found out I was a reader, then I was okay. So that's really funny. And my husband, what does he do for a living? He is a mechanic, and he can fix anything. So he works on heavy equipment like dump trucks and bulldozers and excavators and all that kind of stuff. But he is a mechanic. He can fix anything. And that is why I don't have a garage bill. I have never had a garage bill. So I feel very lucky that he is so handy and so willing to do all that kind of stuff. I've never paid for an oil change in a vehicle since I've been married. I don't know that I've ever paid for an oil change in my life, to be honest with you. So yeah, I mean, it's great to have a mechanic as a husband, I have to say. Is there any more? I think that's it for the Maine questions. So that's everything about Maine. If you have any other questions about Maine, leave them down in the comment section down below. I hope I've answered all of your questions thoroughly, and I will be back with another edition of the Q&A because we have lots of bookish questions to answer. I know I haven't gotten to any of the bookish stuff yet so far, but I will be getting to that soon. So come back for that. I hope you're all doing well and finding some great books to read. I will talk to you later.